Hey guys, welcome to another episode. We are back in the garage finally with the construction still going on my house. It's still kind of tough to get out here. So I'm doing my best to make content for you guys. It takes time to get out here. So be patient with me, stick around. I promise we're still making content. It just takes a little time to get out here. But if you haven't followed me on Instagram, you can see I've got some t-shirts. These are nice dry fit shirts. They're super lightweight. I got these to wear on the channel. Let me know what you think. I got my wife one, and if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen these about a week and a half ago. So make sure you follow me on Instagram at Garage Time TV. That's where I post our side projects, anything that's kind of not really long enough to put on a video. Sometimes we'll put those on there. So anyway, today we're going to jump back into our 850, and since we just got done wrapping up the engine, we are going to start moving into electrical. And electrical is not my strong suit by any means. I'm sure there's a lot that I do wrong, and I'm going to call it now. There's stuff I'm going to do wrong, so please bear with me. I have to learn how to figure it out, and that's what we do here is we learn and we do better next time. So we're going to run through all of our controls to see what does and does not work, as far as lights, signals, things like that. But obviously we know all the things that are, at least so far, back to the engine bay, work. But right off the bat, I do know there's a couple things we do need to work on today. Is our ignition switch. We need to pull it and clean out all the terminals, because I can get it to the on position, but I can't get it to engage the starter when I push it one more time to start the car. So I think the terminals are probably dirty, so we're going to take that thing apart and we are going to clean every piece of it on the inside and reassemble it. So that'll be a part of this video. And then I also know that our generator is not charging the battery. And I'm only assuming that because I just put a multimeter on the battery and it wasn't reading a charge when the car was running. So it may be our voltage regulator, or it may be our generator, and we just need a new generator. So we're going to do that as a troubleshoot in this video, and then we'll also move on to if there's anything else that doesn't work, signals, things like that. I know our gauges don't read anything minus our tach. Our tach reads, which is nice, but our other things do not read anything. Our oil pressure doesn't read, and our water temperature doesn't read, and our fuel level just says that we're really low and our warning light comes on. So those are the things we have to work on. These are electrical issues. Like I said, I'm not the best, so bear with me. This is probably going to be a several day conglomeration video, so I'll do my best to get it out to you guys as soon as I can. But we're going to jump into this, and I think the first thing we're going to want to start with is probably diagnosing our generator, or you know what, let's let me think on that. Let me think on where I want to start, and then we'll jump into it. So let's get started. All right, so I think we're going to start with seeing what does and does not work on the car. Last I remember everything did, but I think I ran into some issue where the blinkers don't want to work now. So I'm going to set you guys down on the hood here, on where the convertible top sits. And I disconnected the coil and the fuel pump. That way when the key is on, we don't burn up our coil and melt the thing while the thing is on and we're trying to test all these pieces. So I'm going to turn the key on. I'm going to try all of our different components. If you hear any music in the background, that's the people working on my house, so I apologize in advance. I'm not blasting music in the background for you. So we're just going to turn the key on and try a couple different things. Key is on, and so horn works. So if we turn on our wipers, all right, our wipers work. Our interior lights, I'll show you guys as we go through it. Our interior lights, they are good. Turn those off. Our dash lights do not work. Got those brightness all the way up. Our headlights, like our running lights, see them there. Got them down here. Those are nice and bright. I replaced these with LEDs, I believe. Or I just got new bulbs. Good. Good. You can see them there, there. No license plate lights yet. Good here. And good here. So those are all good. Just gonna walk back around. Even our, this one needs to be replaced, but even our trunk light works. And I think the one in here does. Let me get this box out of the way. Yeah, even that one works. So that's nice. All right. We can turn those off. Oh, we need to try our headlights. Okay, those work. Our high beams. Good. So what's nice about that is if you saw the headlight replacement video, if we fix this, there's those. I'll make sure to drop that up in the top corner there for our headlight replacement. So we'll turn these off. And blinkers. Nothing. Nothing. I know our cigarette lighter works. I've used that before. We'll get in here and we'll try our fan. Sorry for all the wobble. I'm trying to get y'all in here. Our blower works. High, off. Low does not. Oh yeah, that feels real good. You can see all the dust blowing out of there. What about our side vents? Oh yeah, real good. And then this is our cold air and our warm air. So I think I'd rather have high than none at all. So what we have going on is we need to get, I guess I can turn the key off. Oh, our hazards. Let's try our hazards while we're sitting here. It's all the way down here. The light came on. Oh, there you go. There's a delay. So nothing up front. But we got them in the back. So turn those off. Now I can turn the key off. All right. So that's where we stand. So we got our front flashers for our hazard or our blinkers don't work. So it might be our flasher switch. I'll have to take a look at the diagram, the wiring diagram. And then we don't have, our gauge don't read anything when the car is on, except for our tach. And we don't have any dash lights. But all in all, it's actually not too bad for whoever knows however many previous owners we've had with this thing. So let's dive into getting these lights, the flashers, to work. I think I might know what the problem is, but let me set you guys up and we'll cover that. All right, so the first thing we're gonna attack is our fuse box right here. Ours I think has 10, but before we even get started, make sure you have your battery terminal disconnected. That way we don't short anything out. But we've got, I don't know if this will flood you guys out if you can see anything at all, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 fuses on there, but our diagram only shows 8. So this might have been switched out in the past by someone else, a previous owner. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, if I can get underneath here, there's two 10mm nuts that hold on this fuse panel. I think they're 10. Well, just kidding, I think they're 8. All right, they're 8. Usually everything is either a 10 or a 13 in this car, but I guessed wrong. All right, now we've got our 8. So I'm gonna be pulling this fuse panel down and take a look at it. Like I said, it's got 10 fuses on it, but our diagram only shows 8. So I'll get this out of here. So there's one nut. Let me grab a little tray. Don't want to lose them. These little magnetic trays are the best. There's one there. And the other one is kind of blocked by the hazard switch, so I think we'll have to take this off. Luckily it's just thumb tight. Kind of comes right out of its housing there. And like always, reassemble as much as you can while you are in there. That way we don't lose anything. All right, now we can get to it. All right, those are those two. It should come down. There we go, just like that. Try not to pull too much because some of these wires are pretty old. Some of them even used like a bread twist tie on here. All right, let me get y'all in here and take a look. So it's kind of hard to see, but you can see. Let me get a light. How about that? Does that wash you guys out? How about that? Something? Maybe that. So you can see they're all on there, but the very last one, all the way on the right there, doesn't have any plugged into it. Let me see if I can get this a little bit better. So on the right there's none that's plugged into it. So let me take a look at my wiring diagram and we'll see what we can find. All right, so I'm going to do a quick side-by-side comparison. This is in the 850 book. It's available from Midwest Bayless. I'll put it in the description down below on where if you want to get one of these. It's got everything you could possibly need in here. This one's got a wiring diagram with the alternator, which is right here. You can see it's got the field relay, I think that's what it's called, compared to this one that's got the generator, and this is the one that we have. So when we look at the fuse panel, we've got 8. When we look at this one, we've got 8. But you can see on here, see if I can get it to kind of focus. There's Gaio is yellow on H, 2 yellow coming in on number 8, but this one's got maroon, which is brown, going into 8, going out to Bianco Nero, which means black and white, or white with a black tracer. And this one doesn't have anything coming out of the top of 8. So that's why you've got to be, I don't want to say like talented, but you've got to be able to be thorough and compare, because when we go back to look at that fuse panel, we won't, maybe it has a fuse panel like this, or maybe it is like this. So I like to stick into the one that has our generator, because there's only like 1 or 2 years that has this. So I'm going to get back underneath there, but I just wanted to show you guys this real quick to check all your sources, make sure it's exactly what you need. This one has lots of good information, but it just didn't have the wiring diagram with the generator, so I just found this online and printed it out. If I can find it, I'll make sure to attach it on the description below for you guys, so that way you can have access to it too. Alright, so when I was comparing my electrical diagram here to this, there was some stuff not really matching up. But what I did notice, right here on the bottom all the way to the left, the light might wash it out, is right there. See how corroded and gross that is? And that could very well cause a problem, and you see how old that one is compared to all these that are much newer. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to take my Harbor Freight Special little wire wheel on there. I'm going to take out those fuses. I'm going to wire wheel all of them and clean up all the connections on there, and that very well may help solve our problem. The other thing is on the top, if I can pull it down and not wash you guys out, is that this isn't going to show very well for you, but you can see how dusty it is up there also. So see, it's all gray and gross and dusty and dirty. So it may be worth the time to take this little tool, take the 10-15 minutes, clean it all up, and just pull them out one by one so they go exactly where they were before. That way I don't cross anything. And maybe that'll help us solve our problem. So let me set you guys up and we'll clean these up. So we got that first one cleaned, but you can see kind of how wrinkly and old this fuse is. For all I know, there could be a break in there, right? Like a super micro break, and that's causing a problem. So I've got some new ones. This one, it should say it on the back of them on the opposite, but I can't really read it. This one says it's a 8 amp, but this one also has the, I think, main power coming in, but it's an 8 amp, and so are these other ones. So I'm gonna get another one. I'm gonna replace it just because it looks so bad. So let me swap that one out. I'm gonna clean all these just like I did that one. It's not super exciting. I'll save you all the hassle. So let me clean these and I'll bring you back. All right, so all the terminals are clean, nice and shiny. So I'm gonna turn the key on, and we are going to, which was it? It was our blinkers, right? Nothing. Nothing. Our hazards. Don't even have that. Ruh-roh, we did something. This is why electrical is the worst. All right, I take back my statement that electrical is the worst. It really helps if you plug in the battery. We're gonna do that now, and then we're gonna try again. All right, our battery is now in. So now we can come give it power. Give it some power, okay. That means our hazards. All right, light comes on. Our open door lights are on. I don't see any flashing. Still a no-go on this end. But we got them down here. So that wasn't our issue, but it was an easy fix and worth a try, and it needed to be done. So let's move on to the next one. All right, so I wanted to give you guys a little bit of progress. I've been kind of hunting around with a probe. If you guys don't have one of these, I highly recommend it. It's a little power probe. You push up and it applies power because you have the other end hooked up to your battery. And notice how it grounds it. So you know if you have a grounding issue or a no power issue, this really helps solve the problem. So what I've done is I've been using this, and I went back and forth. Let me turn this off. I went back and forth on different terminals of the fuse box, and I'll show you that. So on here, there's, on the top, you can see some have 2 wires, but on the so on the top, I mean here, some have 2, and some have one coming in, some have 2 going out. And so the power comes in on the bottom, goes through the fuse, and powers the 2 terminals on the top. So what I've done is I went through with my probe, and see that's applying power, this is grounding it out. So I know that our dash lights don't work. So I'm gonna turn the switch on, and you see there's still nothing on. The car is off, the key is off. Get you all over here, the key is off. So what I do here is on this fuse, which is labeled H, see it's grounded, but when I apply power, kind of see it there, they come on. But on their own, when the switch is engaged, they do not come on. So that means we are not getting power to H. So that means I need to look into this one here, look at the wire that's coming in, and see if the one that's coming in is getting power. Because if that isn't getting power, then that means somewhere down the line there's an interruption when that should be getting power. So we're making progress, but slow and steady, and that's just kind of how electrical goes. All right, now that we're making that progress, I did notice, I'm going to bring you back down here, sorry it's so dark, but there's these 2 wires on the end. It's a blue and black, and this double kind of orangey brown, which I think is what they call brown on the diagram. But H, where we were just having that problem, well, when you look at the top, I know you can't really see, but it's missing an inlet. So there's no power going into it. That's why there's nothing powering it. So when I come and look at the diagram, H shows the double brown with a white and black. That's Bianco Nero. But it also shows, I know it's kind of hard to see, there's a little line between these which shows that these should be bridged because the power comes in and powers 2 separate fuses. I don't know if that's gonna be able to show clearly or not, but they're bridged them. So what I'm gonna do is I've got my multimeter and I'm gonna do a continuity test. So when it's broken like this and they're not connected, you don't hear anything. But when you connect them, open, closed, open, closed. So what that means is if these are really bridged power-wise, we should hear that beep. So let me set you up and we're gonna get that tested. All right, so let's test this out. It's kind of gonna be hard to see anything from wherever y'all are, but that's probably the best spot I can get you guys. So if these are connected on the top, but they're not on the bottom, so I'll stick this one in the top, kind of feel around. All right, so they are connected. You heard that? It's like fishing in the dark. Can't see nothing. Let's see if I can do it with one hand. All right, touching that one. And this one. All right. So you can hear it, so they are bridged. All right, so we've been making some progress. I had to open the garage door because I let the car run for a little bit. I wanted to see if it just had to get hot and some stuff kind of had to loosen up for the gauges to start working. But I did discover that this is obviously makes complete sense. I don't know why I didn't think about it sooner. But in order for the dash lights to work, your running lights have to be on. And as soon as I did that, they come on. And that's kind of like a duh, why didn't I think of that? So I'm sure some of you were shouting at me in the video that that's what the issue was. So then I started to think, well, I think I have a grounding issue. Typical to Fiats, they have bad grounds. Now I have not found a grounding pod behind the dash. If you know anything about the 124 Spider, they have grounding pods on each side of the dash, some in the engine compartment and in the back, and they ground to the body as one big location where they all ground together, and oftentimes those have to be cleaned. I haven't found one here, but I thought, well, let me try out the water temperature. I didn't get any luck on that one, so I moved to the fuel gauge, and since this wasn't reading either and I was just getting the warning light, I was like, well, let me go ground out the sending unit. So I come back here and I attach a jumper wire, just simple, onto one of the nuts that are on there, and I attach it to a good ground on the body. I come here to turn the key, and just like that, it finally reads half a tank. So that means that I have to ground the sending unit to the body somehow. So I'm probably going to remove one of these nuts, put a little O-ring on it, cinch it back down, and then ground it to the body back here. But I'll do it to a way where you can't really see it, and this has a cover anyway, so it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. But the good news is that's one issue solved. Our tack works, and we're about to have our fuel work, so that only leaves our oil, our water temperature, and our blinkers in the front. Our hazards work in the back, but not the front. So one thing at a time, we're finding it, but I really do think a lot of this is a grounding issue. So I'm gonna keep trucking on that, and as I keep finding solutions, I will keep you updated. All right, so the next thing we're working on is our oil pressure gauge. So I have my probe hooked up. You hear it beeping. Got it hooked up to the alligator clips, which is hooked to the power part of my oil pressure sensor. The indicator light is that thing underneath it, but the actual pressure is in that big round thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the engine over, and as that begins to ground out, this will turn off. So I'm going to turn the key on, and you hear it stop beeping, which means that there's power. So that means that it's starting to get ready. All right, so it means that we have no pressure. So that means we had oil pressure because it turned, the power went out, which means it grounded. And now that the power is returning, that means there's oil pressure's dropped. So we know that our oil pressure, turn this off. So we know that our oil pressure gauge is working, but for some reason it's just not reading on the gauge itself. So I don't know if it's another grounding issue. It very well could be something behind the dash, because as soon as I add power to that wire to go back, the gauge will shoot all the way max out. So maybe it is the pressure sender, I don't know. If you know, drop it down, help me out. So that's what we're working on now. Next we'll be moving on to the water temperature, and let me troubleshoot that, and if I figure it out, I'll show you. If not, it may be another day because it is starting to get late in the day. I got other stuff to do. So let me get back into this and I'll bring you back. All right guys, well, another mystery has been solved. Our water temperature gauge is working. Come to find out, the two wires, the brown one and the green one, were on the wrong terminals. So they were flipped, they were backwards. So when I turn the key, look right here on the water temperature gauge, I had the car running for a little bit and it reads. And I took my temperature gun, which looks like this. I took my temperature gun and it does match. It was about 175. And as you saw, it was about right in the middle, which is about 175. So we know that our temp gauge is accurate and now it works. So the last gremlin to chase down is going to be our oil pressure. So I'm going to jump back into that. But it's nice to start getting these things kind of fixed and seeing that it really is just these little things. You just have to take your time. It's been a couple minutes for you guys, but it's been about 5 hours here. But you just got to chase every lead because you never know. So I'm going to move on to the oil, but now we've got our fuel and our water temperature gauge. Now we just got to deal with our oil pressure. Then after that, all that's left is our blinkers and our ignition switch issue. And then we're done. That sounds really weird to say. Done. Let's get there first, but let's move on to the next one. And hopefully we can solve it just as easily. Alright, so the next good news is that the oil pressure gauge is now working. Now, I'm glad I'm recording this because I feel like if I wrote this in a forum, nobody would believe me, but the wires on the back of the oil pressure gauge were also backwards. So that means that our oil gauge now works. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set you guys up real quick so you can see the oil pressure gauge. See if you guys can see that. But you'll see it right here in the middle. And you'll see that creep. It's a little loose because I just have it hanging out there, but you'll see it. Now the trick is you want about 10 psi of oil pressure for every 1,000 RPMs. So our carburetor isn't set yet. So we're sitting at about 1,500 RPMs. So we should be looking at about 15 to 20 oil pounds of pressure or more. So let's get this key on, and you're gonna look right here. Here we go. All right. So I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see that, but the oil pressure gauge ended up getting to about 55 psi when we were revving up to about 2,500 RPMs. So that's good news, which means now that all of our gauges work, which is awesome. They haven't worked as long as I've owned them, and I'm so glad. Those were relatively easy fixes. They just took forever to chase down. So next I think is going to be working on our ignition switch. I think I need a new generator because even testing it in the engine bay, revving it, it's not getting any voltage. But I'll do a little research on that. And then after this is all that's left is the ignition switch and figuring out my flasher blinkers and why the front ones aren't flashing. So this has been a really productive day. I think I have to start wrapping it up here to get other stuff done, but getting all of our gauges back is amazing, and that's perfect, and that's exactly what we needed, because we were that much closer to being completely road ready and for a first show, which would be really exciting. But of course we have to get the dumpster out of the way. So next series is going to finish out our blinkers and our ignition switch. I'll do the ignition switch in the next video. I know I said at the beginning I'll do it in this one, but I need the parts first to clean it. So we're going to do that next video, or I'll do it as a side project in my side project playlist, and get that knocked out. I'll do some research on this generator and my voltage regulator. Can you tell I'm a little crazy? I'm a little loopy today after being here for so long. So anyway, I'm going to finish up this dash, get it all put back together. But thank you guys so much for hanging out. I know chasing electrical gremlins isn't really a lot of fun, but it's content for you guys to know that I am still working on this car. I am not quitting. We just have to finish my house, and that's what's dragging everything along. So until next time, guys, make sure you subscribe, like, comment. If you have any advice on anything, go ahead and drop it down below to help anybody else out. And I appreciate you hanging out. Just make sure you follow me on Instagram, Garage Time TV, and we also have a Facebook page. If you didn't know that, we now have a Facebook page where you're welcome to share your projects and the things you're working on with me and everybody else in the GTT community. That's going to be our new name, GTT, Garage Time TV community, and you can share with them and share all of your projects and what you're working on, and I want to see it. You know, I want to see what you guys are working on, and I would love to experience that with you. So until next time, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on part 2.